want you to think back to the first time you ever remember being truly afraid. What was it? Does it stick with you today? This is the sort of thing that we talk about on the House of Asher. Won't you join us? The House of Asher, a clearinghouse for the mind. Good morning, everybody. This is Steve Asher. You're joining us bright and early this Sunday morning for episode 27 of House of Asher. Like I said, the trees just starting to show the first signs of that reddish sunburst, as it were, of sunlight coming through and then waking up my side of the planet. But I have a good friend who's already been wide awake and been working all day handling things, and we're going to be talking about some of the strange and the weird and the unusual and the unique of Australia. And I would like to introduce my friend Natasha. Hey, Natasha, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Steve.
So, how are you doing today?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Good, yes. Not too bad. Like I said, I'm as more as I get this coffee into me, the more I'll probably be a little bit more lucid and coherent. But like I said, right now I'm probably about 80%.
Yeah, fair enough. It's pretty early over there.
Right. My dad used to say it's close enough for state work. I don't know if you have an equivalent of that over there, but that's kind of how it was. It's like, yeah, it's close enough. This'll do. But yeah. So, we had talked before, and we are both connected with the Hillbilly Horror Story show. Jerry and Tracy show, and I had actually come into that doing like my book stuff, for the hauntings of books. Mm-hmm. And I know you were connected with some of the pages and fan pages and all that, and just in the processes of talking a little bit and getting to know each other, we started talking about some of the local stuff on your side of the world, which is like I was saying, I was talking to my daughters last night, and they thought it was really crazy that I'm talking to somebody in the future, and in all the time zone, and then it's like, oh well, but it's also cool that you're talking to somebody in the past. So it's weird how that works out. I guess it's all relative. But so anyway, let's talk a little bit about some of the weird things that you grew up around and heard about, and legends and whatnot. What's some of the ones that you really know about and that you really have an interest in, and that you'd like to share?
Sure. Well, we've got a couple of like Aboriginal legends and stuff around. So every different sort of tribe and region kind of has their own version, I guess. But they're all kind of similar. And with a lot of the Aboriginal legends, unfortunately, when English settlers came and recorded the Aboriginal stories, they were not always necessarily like recorded in a way that was accurate with the Aboriginal culture. And it's a little bit hard to even because I'm really interested in like the mythology and like the traditional lore and stuff around
right, like
where I live and like the local areas and stuff, and just even like places of interest and whatnot. And it's a little bit hard to find because a lot of it wasn't recorded, and if it wasn't exactly accurate. It was more done from a British
kind of a Eurocentric
kind of.
Right.
Yeah, just from their point of view, or their interpretation more rather than what it was actually for the cultures. And like I said, there are a lot of different like tribes and cultural groups within the Aboriginal Australian community, and their legends do vary a little bit. But we do have a few common ones and a couple of my favorite ones actually. So I'll start off with the Yowie. It's said that every single culture out there has a Bigfoot, and a lot of people say, well, there's Bigfoot here and like the Yeti of the Himalayas and whatnot, but
right.
Australia has their own sort of Bigfoot kind of creature as well, which I find really interesting because Bigfoot is like one of my favorite cryptids, and Australia being so like, we're essentially an island, do you know what I mean? And we are so far away from the Americas and the Himalayas and stuff. Yet the people here still have their own, I guess I want to say myth about The Yowie. So basically, what a Yowie is essentially a Bigfoot. Um, there's the description pretty much varies a fair bit between what people see, but generally it's like a large, very hairy ape-like creature with like a wide flat nose. They're generally like said to be around 2.1 meters to maybe 3 meters tall, which I think in feet is like maybe close to
about 12
7
foot.
foot.
Well, I know on the low end, because I didn't mean to walk on what you said, but researching this a
Yeah.
little bit, of course, because I always want to have a little idea of it. I know, like you said, it really does vary anywhere from 6 to 7 foot to up to 12 foot. And
Yeah.
what do you conjecture? Do you think that maybe like when all the land masses were together in the big Pangean continent, that just at one time as things started cracking off, different groups of
Um,
Yowies went different directions and had different names, or
I'm maybe I know there's a few different various theories out there with Bigfoot where they say that it is an actual like animal kind of thing, or some people think
right,
it's like an alien or like an interdimensional being.
right.
I kind of lean a little bit more towards it being an interdimensional being, just because like yeah, it makes sense that with the large continent Pangea, breaking off and stuff. There
Well,
could be animals and whatnot that came through, but at the same time, Australia's like environment is so unique, and its wildlife is so unique as well. I don't know. I just find it interesting that
well,
we have something that's the same.
something that I thought was really, like I said, was interesting because, like you said, there's so many takes on it. I've even heard people say, well, maybe because it can fade in and out of whatever, or period of fade in and out of areas. Well, it's a ghost, but to me, interdimensional creatures and ghosts and aliens and whatever kind of all stem from the same vein, because, like you said, some of their interactions with people and the way, like you said, that they can appear and disappear and all that. Now, did you guys have any of what they call the Gigantopithecus, the giant gorilla in Australia, like in?
No, we
Okay,
don't have any monkey type animals. I don't think we. I'm just trying to do like a real quick rerun of history, but yeah, I don't think we ever had anything like that. Um, like I know we had like giant kangaroos and stuff, and we've got the Tasmanian devil and we had the Tasmanian tiger, um, but I don't think we had anything that was quite ape-like.
okay.
Um, yeah, so it's just interesting, and the Aboriginal lore, like legends behind it, is interesting as well. Like they believe that the Yowies used to they originate from the Dreamtime. So the Aboriginal peoples, in
Which
like in
that's the
general,
beginning of time, right? That would be like our Genesis, or what
mm,
the Anglo would be like the beginning of time, or pre-time. Is that what that would be?
has
Educate me.
come as a part of their creation story, but the Dreamtime is more of a collective conscience, if that makes sense. So
Oh, okay.
it's the future, it's the past, it's now, it's a way that you can just sort of connect to everything and everyone. So it's like, yeah, like a collective consciousness. It's hard to explain, but it's kind of like that. I think, yeah, I
Well,
think
it
I kind
seems
of
to me.
explained it.
Well, no, what it seems to me, especially the Aboriginal cultures, like a lot of other indigenous cultures, the Native Americans and stuff, they have, their own creation story and their own connection, to the earth, and it seems like a lot of their culture is still very much, steeped in that, where a lot of your
Mm,
centric thing has to build, so much in regards of deities and whatnot and all this, and it still seems like it's very rich, but it's also very earthy, and it always seems to go back to Mother Earth or Gaia, or whatever term you might
yeah,
want to use.
definitely. Yeah, definitely. The Aboriginal culture is very connected with nature and the environment and the understanding of how the environment around them works, which it's actually really beautiful. And it's also very like a lot of the time when we do like development and stuff, yeah, we do take on a lot of Aboriginal cultural habits and stuff, and just to help make things a lot more environmentally friendly and everything. So they are very connected. Um, the lore behind Yowies, though, is that they believed that these animals were from the Dreamtime, which I guess is around the creation period time of the Dreamtime, and they used to come and do wars with the Aboriginal people, and the Aboriginal people would always win. So, in relation to your question before, where you were asking about, whether or not they could have like be an actual animal that came through, I don't think so. I think if there is something, it could be like an interdimensional being that maybe did have interactions with the Aboriginals in the past. Maybe some of them hang around, maybe they don't. There's...
Well, I'm sorry. If I don't ask a question when I think it, I'll forget it.
No, you're right. No,
you
you're
were
right.
talking about interactions. Now, I knew that, like, in, like, early biblical conversations and stuff, and they talked about, like, Nephilim and, like, having very large offspring and things like that. Is there any conjecture on that? Or is that a completely Eurocentric vibe? Are they thinking it's more or less, like you said, like its own individual being? It's not so much a hybrid of this or that, or...
That's interesting. I don't know. See, I've never thought of that before. I've always just thought of the Yowie as like maybe a Bigfoot's cousin, or just
okay.
do you know what I mean? Like Bigfoot's Australian cousin.
That's
or
cool.
like whether it's a species of its own or a an interdimensional being, but it could be a giant, I guess. It doesn't really, because it doesn't really seem to have.
Well, I have this. I'm laughing because of it's early, and also I had this vision of like, okay, so it's like you have the Kentucky Bigfoot or hairy man or whatever you want to call it, because like I said, one of our forebears, Daniel Boone, had reported about encountering this large hairy man, which was very, very tall, and I have this version or this vision in my head of him drinking like Kentucky bourbon, and then like the Yowie drinking like Foster's or something. I don't know why.
Oh, we don't drink Foster's here.
Okay, good. Okay,
But
what
yeah,
do you
it
drink?
could be.
Educate me. What do you guys drink there?
Well, in Australia, we have various different beers. I guess it depends on the local region. Considering most of the Yowie sightings have happened in southeast Queensland, which is where I'm from, our local beer is 4X. So Yowie probably be drinking 4X.
Nice.
There's a few different ones. By the way, this is another interesting fact. It's only seen on the eastern side of Australia, and mostly in Queensland, which, I mean, the area of Queensland where it's seen sort of very much central along the eastern coast of the mainland. So I don't know if it's like, could be a localized species, could be like they just like it down here. I don't know.
Well, let me ask you this, and it won't be real long before I'm going to end this segment. And if it's okay, we'll continue on with another one. Now, on the eastern side, are you familiar much with ley lines and energy lines and things like that? I wonder if that either has... I mean, are there areas that are considered maybe more sacred, and, areas that would be considered, tribally important and things like that?
Are there areas around that
Like
that region that would be considered that?
Well, that might draw more. That might be able to, facilitate the energy maybe to draw these creatures. I don't know if they're drawn by energy. I don't know if they're drawn for, different things. Because I know here a lot of times people think, well, Bigfoot is there to protect the land. They're sort of like a great big park ranger almost. They're there. If you have a Bigfoot, that actually the area is healthy because they're not going to be in an area that's going to be super unhealthy.
Yep. That's an interesting point. I can't think of anywhere that I know off the top of my head in my local region that is significantly sacred. But I know that Aboriginal people do believe that, like, everybody is connected to the land, in like a collective conscience kind of way, and I guess that's sort of like the dream time. And they do believe, like, there are certain rites and ceremonies and stuff, and that everybody is connected to ancestors, and there is a really deep bond between the land and stuff. So I feel like
Natasha,
everywhere's kind of sacred.
If you want to, let's hold that right there, and I'm going to end this segment, and we're going to continue on with the next segment with my good friend Natasha.